Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Lindsay Henneke, your host and sober coach. I created Feel Good AF, a coaching program designed specifically for high-achieving women searching for a solution to the one thing holding them back that actually works. Now, I want you to take a second and applaud yourself for being here right now. If we were on a coaching call, I would be giving you a virtual high five. But for real, it signals something to me. It shows me that you care deeply about where your life is headed, that you're not just curious about change, you're actively creating space for it. You could be doing anything, and yet here you are taking this time to listen and learn, and that is no small feat. You are a powerful, successful woman who has a lot on her plate. Time is a precious resource for all of us, and the way you spend your time is a reflection of what you value. So I want to acknowledge that. And by pressing play on this episode, you're proving to yourself, whether you realize it or not, that your growth, your well-being, and your future matter enough to prioritize. Let's talk about something that may be considered controversial in certain circles. It's something that may be quietly draining the excitement from your alcohol-free journey, and that is counting the days. It's everywhere. Apps, journals, challenges, AA. You're told it's the gold standard for success. Watch the number climb, hit a milestone, celebrate, repeat. But when your entire focus is locked on how many days you've not had a drink, you're still making alcohol the center of the story. Your attention stays hooked on what you're avoiding instead of the life you're actually building. So here's what's so important to understand from my perspective. Your real progress isn't measured in days on a calendar. It's measured in who you are compared to the woman you were a month ago or 6 months ago or last year. Maybe now you can say, I'm drinking less than I was a month ago. Or I've done 5 things this month without alcohol that used to feel impossible. That's what tells you the rewiring is happening in real time. That's how you see proof that this work is actually changing you, not just in theory, but in your everyday life. The women who create lasting change are not obsessed with a scoreboard. They're focused on becoming the kind of woman who wakes up proud, moves through her day with clarity, and ends her night knowing she's in a full alignment with the life she actually wants. Now, when your attention is on her, this version of yourself that you're trying to become, alcohol loses its place. It stops being relevant, not because you're forcing yourself to avoid it, because it's more about it simply doesn't belong in the reality that you're building. Okay, so I want to move into a little bit why counting days can keep you stuck. Here's the problem with counting days. It keeps your identity anchored to alcohol. Even when you're not drinking, your focus is still on drinking. You're looking at the scoreboard, not the life you're living. It creates this fragile setup where one slip feels like it erases all of your progress. Your counter resets and suddenly it's like you're back to zero. Even though you've already built skills, awareness, and habits that don't disappear overnight. When I first started my own alcohol-free journey, I thought the number of days mattered the most. I would check my app every morning like it was proof that I was good the day before. But the truth was that number didn't tell the full story. It didn't show me the Friday night I stayed home and made a beautiful dinner instead of pouring a bottle of wine. It didn't capture the morning I woke up with energy and clarity and actually wanted to go for a run. It didn't reflect the way my relationships were changing because I was showing up fully present. And the times that I did drink, the app told me that I'd failed, that I was back at zero. But inside, I knew that I was not the same woman I'd been when I'd started. I had already built resilience. I had already proven to myself that I could choose differently. And that's what I teach my clients to track. And that's why I teach them to track something far more powerful than days: evidence. Here's why this matters so much. Your brain is always looking for efficiency. It wants to save energy. So it's naturally going to run the patterns it already knows. The familiar habits, the automatic choices, the default identity. And that's why change feels so uncomfortable at first. Every time you respond differently, every time you choose the walk over the wine or the conversation over the craving, you're giving your brain new data to work with. It's like you're handing it over proof. This is who we are now. And your brain collects that evidence. And the more you stack it, the easier it becomes for your brain to run the new pattern automatically without the mental tug of war. This is how identity rewiring works in real time. You're literally training your brain to believe you are the woman you're becoming. Because when you start measuring progress that way, you see the real rewiring happening. The stressful meeting you handled without needing to unwind with wine afterward. The vacation that you enjoyed fully present instead of hungover. Every one of those moments is part of the new identity that you're building. If you want to compare yourself to anything, compare yourself to the woman you were before you started this work. Ask yourself, what can I do now that felt impossible 6 months ago? What choices am I making today that show me alcohol's losing its place in my life? That's where you'll see your real transformation. And it's a measure that you can never reset to zero. Here's what I've seen over and over and over and over. Alcohol doesn't just take your energy, your mornings, or your health. It quietly shrinks your entire world. It narrows your options without you even realizing it. The trips you say no to because you're worried about how much you'll drink or not drink, the relationships that stay surface level because you're not showing up fully present, the hobbies you never explore because evenings are for wine and mornings are for recovering. And when your life gets smaller, your identity shrinks with it. You stop seeing yourself as the woman who says yes to adventure, or the woman who follows through on her ideas, or the woman who trusts herself in every situation. This is why the women I coach stop focusing on alcohol itself. Because when you focus on building a life so rich, so aligned, so deeply yours, alcohol stops making sense. I have watched women take their first solo trip overseas after years of just making it through the work week. I've watched them enroll in classes, pick up new habits, pick up new hobbies, start businesses because they have the energy, the clarity, and the self-trust to do it. I've watched them sit at the table with friends and order sparkling water, not because they had to, but because they genuinely wanted to feel amazing the next morning. When you start expanding your life, alcohol does not feel like a loss. It feels completely irrelevant. It becomes the obvious thing to leave behind because it's not part of the bigger life that you're building. So I want you to take a moment and really picture this. If alcohol had zero influence over your decisions, how would your life open up? What's the first thing that you'd say yes to? Where would you spend your time? Who would you spend it with? And maybe most importantly, how would you feel walking into each day? If those answers feel exciting but far away, I want you to remember this. Every small choice that you make today can start stacking toward that bigger life. It doesn't happen all at once, but every time you choose the option that aligns with the version of yourself that you want to become, you're expanding your world. And the more you expand, the easier it becomes to leave alcohol behind. Not out of willpower, but because you simply don't need it anymore. Okay. When alcohol is no longer running the show, every part of your life has room to grow. Your energy increases. You stop dragging yourself through mornings and start actually living them. You have the energy to follow through on plans, to move your body in ways that feel good, to work on the ideas that have been sitting in the back of your mind for years. Energy is the foundation for everything else. And when you get it back, everything you want becomes possible. Your relationships deepen. You're present. You remember the conversations. You laugh for real instead of behind a fog. You start showing up as the version of you who actually listens, who actually cares, and who connects. And you attract people who meet you there because your energy invites deeper, more meaningful connections. Okay. Another thing is your opportunities expand. You're no longer saying no to experiences because you're worried about drinking or not drinking. You're not scheduling your life around the next happy hour. You have the clarity to say yes to opportunities that scare you a little, that stretch you, that move you toward the life you actually want. This has been so evident in my own journey. That's a whole other episode. Your self-respect grows. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You start stacking proof that you can trust your own word. And that self-respect shows up everywhere. How you take care of your body, how you speak to yourself, how you handle challenges. You start walking into rooms differently because you know you can rely on you. And here's the really beautiful part. What you say yes to expands. You say yes to the hike, the early morning coffee date, the big career move, the trip you've been dreaming of, and each yes builds a life that is so much bigger than anything alcohol could ever offer. When you look at it this way, quitting drinking stops being about losing something. It becomes about making space for so much more. Okay, I want to move into a visualization exercise. You know I love an assignment, so this week we're doing it live right here, right now. Well, I know this is previously recorded, but we're doing it right here, right now. Okay, if you're in a safe place to do this, I want you to close your eyes. If not, just listen closely and let your mind follow along. And you can always come back to this episode and fast forward to, I don't know, around the 12-minute mark, probably. Okay, take a deep breath in and let it go slowly. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw unclench, softening. Now picture yourself waking up in the morning. No fog, no heaviness in your chest, no piecing together what you said or did the night before. You feel rested. Your mind is clear. You swing your legs out of bed and there's this quiet confidence in how you move. You don't have to push yourself into the day. You want to be in it. As you go through your morning, notice how much energy you have, how present you feel. You're not rushing to catch up. You're not fighting to get through the day. You're living in it. You're here for it. You make breakfast or you meet a friend for coffee and you're just there. You're listening. You're laughing. You're connecting without that background static of wondering when you'll get your next drink. Later, you step into a new opportunity. Maybe it's a class, a meeting, a trip, a project you've been putting off. And you're not worried about how alcohol will fit into it because it's not even in the equation anymore. And through it all, you carry this deep sense of self-respect. You keep the promises that you make to yourself. You trust your own word. Hold this version of yourself in your mind for a moment. See her, feel her. This isn't a someday woman. She's already in you, waiting to be lived into. Take one more deep breath in and let it out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. You might be noticing a theme with some of these episodes. I'm not so sneakily trying to get you to really see the version of yourself that is available to you. And now that you've seen her, the version of you who's living in that bigger, beautiful life, let's make it real. I'm giving you an actual assignment now. Here's your challenge for this week. Choose one thing you're going to bring back into your life that alcohol has been crowding out. Now, maybe this is an activity you've been too tired for, an early morning walk, a workout you love, making a beautiful dinner just for you. Maybe it's a relationship, calling your sister, planning a date night, saying yes to coffee with a friend you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a personal goal, reading before bed, working on that creative project, signing up for a class. This isn't about overhauling your entire life overnight. It's about reclaiming one piece of you, one thing that makes your world bigger right now. Because here's what happens. Every time you add something you genuinely want into your life, you create less and less space for alcohol to take up. You start living in a way that makes drinking feel out of place. So pick your one thing and actually put it in your calendar. Block the time. Make the plan. Treat it like a promise to yourself you are not willing to break. Because here's the secret. When you follow through on even the smallest promise, you're telling your brain, this is who we are now. This is how you start living as her today, not someday. I don't care if it's like, oh, I said I was going to get my nails done and I didn't do it. Like, that's a promise you're breaking to yourself. Do the thing you promised. Okay. I want to bring us back to where we started today. This idea that counting days keeps you stuck. Is that what this episode is about? Yes. When you focus only on how many days it's been, you're still telling your brain that alcohol is the reference point for your success. You're saying, my worth is tied to how long I've stayed away from it. That is not freedom, my friend. That's just a different kind of cage. But what happens the moment you drink, the counter resets. That's why this doesn't work. And even if you've built incredible habits, even if you've made massive changes, even if you've experienced the biggest wins of your life, you're told you're back at zero. That's not how transformation works. Real transformation doesn't vanish in a single moment. It's the sum of every choice, every micro win, every piece of evidence you've collected that says, I'm becoming someone new. And here's where this gets personal. I learned this the hard way. And in my first few attempts to cut back, I was obsessed with the number. I'd wake up every single morning and do the math. Okay, 14 days, 23 days. Okay, 41 days. Okay, on our anniversary, it's going to be this many days. Like, it was just like ridiculous until like it drove me mad. But it also felt like progress until the first time I had a drink. The next morning, I'd open my app. I saw that little number reset to zero, and the sense of shame would start again. My brain would go straight to all of that work, gone. I blew it again. And you know what that did? It made me want to drink more. Because if I was already back at zero, why bother? Here's what was really happening. I hadn't lost anything. I'd already experienced mornings without fog. I'd handled stress without pouring a glass. I'd laughed with friends, fully present, without a drink in my hand. I'd made choices I was proud of. Those things were evidence that I was changing. But I didn't see it that way at the time because I was only tracking a number. When you start noticing and writing down every moment that aligns with your future self, you're shifting the story your brain tells about who you are. Because the women who work with me, they stop chasing numbers. They start building lives so rich, so aligned, and so deeply fulfilling that alcohol doesn't make sense anymore. It just doesn't fit. And of course, we celebrate the wins. I'm not saying that we don't, but we don't fixate on the numbers. Listen, your brain loves stories. If you keep telling it, I'm someone who's just trying not to drink, it's going to keep you in that loop. So start telling it, I'm someone who makes choices that align with the life I want. It's going to find ways to make that story true. So really think about this. Do you want your success measured in numbers on an app or in the actual changes you're living every single day? That's really the question here. And when you get there, you'll see what I mean when I say it's not about counting the days. It's about making those days count. If you've been listening today and something in you is saying, I want this, don't ignore it. That voice inside you that lights up when you imagine waking up clear, living fully present, trusting yourself again, that's not wishful thinking. That is the real you trying to get your attention. And here's what I want you to know. You are capable of this. You don't need to be fixed. You already have everything that you need to step into the woman you saw in your mind today. What you need is the space the structure, and the support to keep going when this stuff gets uncomfortable, because it will. It does. This is why women hire me. Inside my coaching containers, we don't just talk about quitting drinking. We work on building this life that is going to make you feel so good and so deeply yours that alcohol is not going to make sense in it. We rewire your patterns from the inside out. So you're not using willpower. You're not white knuckling. You're living as the version of you who's already free. You deserve to give yourself that chance. You've been showing up for everyone else. You've been keeping all the plates spinning, carrying the weight, making sure everything and everyone is taken care of. But when was the last time you showed up with that same commitment for yourself? Imagine what it would feel like to finally have someone in your corner every single day who knows how to get you through the wobbles, who sees the version of you you're becoming and refuses to let you forget about her. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to guess your way through it. You can have a plan, a guide, and a community that keeps you moving forward, even on the days your comfort zone tries to pull you back. So, if you're ready to stop just thinking about change and start living it, I'd like to offer you something special for listening to this particular episode. I call it Get Unstuck. This is a 75-minute coaching session that I offer right now. Together, we're going to dive deep into the work fast. I only open up a few sessions each month, so you're definitely going to want to head to the link in the show notes and get yours. You're going to leave this session with a crystal clear plan that honors your brain, body, and boundaries, not some rigid rule book. I've included the link to secure your spot in the show notes. This is your moment to choose you, to stop measuring life by how many days you've gone without a drink and start building a life that you don't want to escape from. And if you loved this episode, please make sure to follow or subscribe to this podcast so you never miss one. If you leave a rating and review, it helps other women who are ready for this kind of support find it. And it lets me know exactly what's resonating with you. All right, my friend, you're doing this. You're here for it. I'm proud of you already, and I believe in you. I will see you next week.